Two companies showing promising results in their coronavirus vaccine trials.
Both Pfizer and Moderna report their vaccines are about 95% effective.
Eyewitness News reporter Jeremy Baker spoke with Metro Health to find out when a vaccine may become available.
Governor Greg Abbott touted a new antibody treatment coming to Texas, but that's for people who already have the virus. We need a vaccine to prevent infection altogether.
While speed is crucial, just want to emphasize effectiveness and safety of the vaccines are of paramount importance to everybody.
Even though the vaccines were pushed through the trials quickly, Dr. Kurian says they are safe.
Based on the safety data that we have seen, it seems to be pretty safe. All safety and efficacy data decisions continue to be made on good science.
The vaccine will be available in limited supply in December or early January, but supplies will increase substantially throughout 2021. Cold air storage for any vaccine will range from refrigerated to ultra-cold frozen. Each vaccine will likely require 2 doses to be given about 3 to 4 weeks apart to reach the level of immunity. And any vaccine will be approved by the FDA either as a licensed vaccine or for emergency use authorization. But how long will it take to get to the people who need it? A little over 1 month.
There will be a phased approach to administering this vaccine.
Critical infrastructure essential workers come first. Frontline healthcare workers and those working in public safety like firefighters, teachers, and food and agriculture. Then people living in group settings such as multi-generational households, prisoners, state hospitals, homeless centers, and colleges. After that, people at high risk for severe illness or COVID-19 impact, like nursing homes, the elderly, and people affected disproportionately by race or ethnicity. And finally, people with limited access to vaccination services, like those with disabilities or those without insurance.
The last stage is where vaccination becomes routine. You have more supply than demand itself, and now it's open to general public.
That widespread supply is likely to be available sometime during the first half of next year. Jeremy Baker, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.